Look, I don't want to talk about the best, most interesting villain in Final Fantasy XIV, because everyone knows who that is, why he is, and agrees on why he's such a good villain. I want to talk about the guy who's more divisive, was not always written to be very interesting, and who shocked me by just how much he changed. Wait, did he change? Well, as this video will show, not really. But my perception of him certainly changed, once I finally understood him. Zenos Ye Galvus. He gets introduced in Stormblood and serves as the main villain of that expansion. And, well, there's a reason why Stormblood is ranked by most as being on the lower tier of expansions. And Zenos is the face of it. He's the most powerful person the Warrior of Light has faced so far in the game. He's extremely evil. He's a murderous maniac, and he's evil. Yeah, while he does have badass lines and a very badass voice, he's also one note. He's boring. He doesn't have much to offer besides being a threat to the world, and the guy who we need to level up in order to take down. Why is he a boring villain? I think about some of the best written villains in fiction and why I like them so much. In just about every case, it's because they have motivations I can relate to. I think that in any piece of fiction, you want to be able to take what's happening in this fantasy world and relate it to the real world, to find deeper meaning in it. When we as the audience get to see the villain's side and understand their point of view, it adds a lot of complexity to the character, gets us asking questions, and it makes it very believable why this character would do the villainous things they do. No one is bad for absolutely no reason, right? There's a meaning to everything, at least in the real world. And good fiction not only matches that, but makes the meaning clear to the person consuming it. Zenos in Stormblood slaughters countless people with no emotion on his face, conquers lands just following orders from his emperor that he doesn't seem that passionate about in the first place. We don't get any backstory about what led to this, anything showing us why he's evil. We get no insight into his motivations for what he's doing. Well, actually, we do. It's just, if I as a human can't relate to those motivations, then what is the point? See, Zenos, as he's so lovingly labeled, is a combat sexual. It's a trope I've seen in a lot of anime, where the character's only personality is fighting, and they're always seeking an opponent to fight that's actually on their level. But everyone they fight is so far beneath their skill level that they've even become bored with their own lives. Think of One Punch Man as something that explored the extreme of this trope. Only, when you're not exploring it to the extreme, it makes for a very uninteresting character. In Stormblood, we meet a Zenos who's asleep at the wheel, until we fight them at the end of the expansion and best them in combat. This is actually a pivotal moment for his character. It's where he's finally met his match in the Warrior of Light.
Hunter has indeed become the hunted. And yet, there is only joy. Transcendent joy that I have never known. How invigorating, how pure this feeling.
Is that what this was all about? All the meaningless death and destruction, so you could feel something?
But again, this is just one of those tropes that makes me sigh and roll my eyes. Maybe some people find this kind of character interesting, but I don't. And most people I talk to share the same sentiment. It's this trait that makes a lot of people unable to relate to Zenos to this day. Post-Stormblood, Zenos' entire personality becomes having a rematch with us. And this lingers. An entire expansion and patch cycle go by where Zenos just lingers in the background, saying that they can't wait to fight us again. He destroys his own empire just to get the Warrior of Light's attention. Does as much damage as he can do just to make the Warrior of Light hate him more. And this is just an impossible motivation to relate to. since there aren't many combat sexuals in the real world. Back in the lead up to Endwalker's release, I remember making posts in Discord servers where we tried to predict where Endwalker would go with the story. Emmett Selk was defeated, and the only big villains left were Xenos and Theater Kid fan Daniel. And I remember saying, man, I believe in Ishikawa, but she's gonna have to pull off the writing miracle of the century to make Xenos and Fan Daniel an interesting pair of main villains. Even up to the 5.55 patch, right before Endwalker's release, they were still as boring and one-note as ever. But then, Endwalker releases, Ishikawa now controlled the Xenos train, and well, everything changed. Xenos himself hasn't changed, but the writing is now more focused on exploring those extremes of Xenos' personality. And the themes of Endwalker and Xenos' contribution to those themes recontextualizes the character as a whole. The theme of Endwalker is the end, and it's about asking, and most importantly, answering, the biggest question of all. What is the meaning of life? Throughout the expansion, we see the perspectives of all kinds of different characters, who each have their own answers to that question. Xenos is the kind of person who I imagined wouldn't have an answer. Up to this point, he's the Quentin Tarantino movie of Final Fantasy XIV. Entertaining, yes, but having no deeper message to share. We still can't relate to any of his motivations. The writers are aware of this, and characters in the game continue to ask Xenos the questions we as players have been wondering.
Honestly, talk of your nemesis is the only thing you seem to enjoy. Does nothing else spark your interest?
The Eorzeans tell me all this was your doing! You slaughtered your countrymen! You did! For what?
For nothing in the end. So much wasted effort. Would you be happier had I a good reason?
What?
If my motives met with your approval, would you no longer resent the outcome? If so, then perhaps a beast's skin would suit you better.
Now, I felt kind of called out here in this scene. Xenos is snapping back in a meta sort of way at people like me who wanted Xenos to justify why he is the way he is. But what I needed to accept is that Xenos just is. He is self-aware. He is his own entity, with his own philosophies on life, as twisted as they may be.
Duty, honor, morality. All constructs of convenience when put to proof. Surely the war taught you how easily power becomes the tool of the self-righteous. How the people's justice was merely a means to their ends? Yet you would ask me why. Ask any creature of this star and those above for answers, and they will tell you what suits their fancy. And they would be right to do so. What meaning there is to be found in the petty vicissitudes of your existence must be gleaned by you, and you alone.
They did a really good job tying this conversation directly into the themes of Endwalker. In this scene, we now understand that Xenos believes the question of what is moral is just as enigmatic as what is the meaning of life. And he has his own answers. He just answered the question. There is no meaning, but what meaning you take out of it. Of course, Alisaie is quick to offer a rebuttal. Perhaps he has found meaning in living this way, but it is a very selfish answer. In many ways, Xenos is right, but he is missing a key aspect, a truth of the universe. You are not alone. And with that insight filed away, I'd like to skip ahead to the most important Xenos line, the one that was needed in order for me to fully understand him. And it's one of his final lines. After he has helped you take down Medion, after he got the rematch with you at the edge of the universe that he's always wanted, as he lies on the ground, dying.
Never have I understood those around me. Understood their obsessions.
And that's the line that recontextualizes everything for me. We, as the audience, could never relate to Xenos, never understand his obsessions, which made for the type of villain we couldn't connect with. And this whole time, he's felt the same way about the rest of the world. Finally, this is a feeling we can understand, because we feel the same way about him. Only with Xenos, this perspective makes him an outlier. Xenos has always felt alone. It's also cool how in Endwalker we follow the story of Hermes, who's going on a parallel journey to Xenos, where in his time he's an outlier for feeling like he's the only person in the world with empathy. But that's another video. It's also cool how Hermes is a parallel to Emmett Selk, where Hermes sides with the lesser creatures and sees value in them, where Emmett Selk sees the lesser creatures, us, as not even being alive in the first place. But that's another story. Okay, that's not a parallel. That's whatever the opposite of a parallel is, but you know. Anyway, this is also when I came to realize Xenos has been consistent since Stormblood. Now, Ishikawa does have a knack for retroactively making past cutscenes from the game feel relevant, like everything was planned all along. Just look at the lyrics of Answers, which ties into all the themes of Endwalker. If we go back to scenes from Stormblood, we see that Xenos, when he fights the Warrior of Light, feels that he has found someone he can finally relate to. And that has driven his obsession since.
You live for these moments, when all hangs in a balance, when the difference between life and death is but a single stroke. I live for them too! This is who we are, my friend! This is all we are! I know you understand this. You and I are one and the same. Together, we could while away the bright hours as friend and confidant. If you accept it.
Xenos believes you are someone who finally understands him, because you are his equal in power level, the one thing he actually understands. He wants to be your friend so badly. He's a little misguided. Some of his views never meshed with yours.
Man should fight for the joy of it. To live, to eat, to breed. Lesser beasts snap and howl at one another for this. Only man has the wisdom and the clarity to embrace violence for its own sake. For we who are born into this merciless, meaningless world have but one candle of life to burn.
When we come back to Endwalker, we see Xenos' full character arc is him trying to relate to the Warrior of Light and maybe finally learning something from the Warrior of Light. He is seeking something in us. Like all of us, he is seeking deeper meaning, an answer to the question.
In that transcendent moment, what was it that I sought in you? And what was it that you sought in me?
And in doing this, he does begin to discover what makes us different than him.
As I learned in Alamigo, you are a formidable foe. Stronger than any I have faced. Against you, I need bring my all to bear. I need burn through the candle of my life. This is the sole pleasure I know. And it is the sole pleasure I have to share. You value life. You do not burn yours save for reasons you deem worthy. But there is more to you than that. You know this to be true. As surely as you know the thrill of pushing your body and soul to their limits. Of confronting ever mightier foes, dancing ever closer to the precipice, wondering if this will be the one to finally fill the void. Such pleasures you seek for their own sake, and no other reason. Is this not so, adventurer? Ha! Acceptance! At long last!
It's awesome how much these two scenes from Stormblood and Endwalker line up. Zenos is still the same character. He still wants the same things. He wants to be accepted by someone. By us.
Is that what this was all about? All the meaningless death and destruction, so you could feel something?
Meaningless. Men die that others may live. Those who survive are stronger for it. Not that you could ever understand. To have stood upon this great stage of fools. To have played my part to perfection. Oh, this moment. Let it be enshrined in eternity. My heart beating out of time. So clear, so vivid, so real. So real.
Looking back, I like these scenes in Stormblood so much more now. Was it because Stormblood and its themes of politics and revolution just didn't fit with the character? Or was Zenos always meant to be misunderstood? Up until this moment.
Never have I understood those around me. Understood their obsessions. Besieged by their banality, the world is a mire of tedium and trivialities. But in these fleeting moments, there is a spark, blinding, brilliant, gone too soon.
In the grand scheme of eternity, an entire lifetime is but a fleeting moment. We've heard those words before in the final lyric of Answers, wherein lies the ultimate answer to the question. In that same fleeting moment, thou must live, die, and know. The meaning of life is to find meaning in life. It's a complicated answer to a complicated question. Throughout Endwalker, we meet various characters who all offer up their own meanings. But Zenos' place in Endwalker is to show us that some people's answer can be just that simple, that personal, and just that hard for others to understand.
It's the little things that make life worth living, don't you think?
Sure, a Quentin Tarantino movie doesn't contain a deep lesson. But even the smallest things, like silly entertainment, can have immense value, so long as you take value out of it. But with all that said, I do offer the counter-argument that Alizé gave to Zenos. Can one truly be fulfilled in life by only pursuing their own happiness to the detriment of others?
Lands that stretched on forever. Skies one could drown in. The heartbeat of nature, silent yet strong. And amidst it all, a people. Beacons of light and life. Laughter that warmed my heart like naught else before. They are my meaning and my purpose. My love.
Maybe we were never supposed to find a personal meaning, since this is a shared existence.
Yes, I can see them. The memories of a long, long journey. So many people. The thoughts of them overflowing in your heart. What they live for. What gives their lives meaning. There was never a single answer. You gather pieces of happiness, precious and fragile, only to lose them. Then start again. On and on it goes, until death takes you into its gentle embrace. That which Hermes sent us to find was there all this time, on Etheirys.
Perhaps there is no single answer. Perhaps in this life there will always be ambiguity. There will always be something left for us to seek and find. And in Zenos' final moments, we are left with one more unanswered question.
What of you, my mirror? Born into this world, bestowed name, bid to seek out strife and adventure. Was this life a gift or a burden? Did you find fulfillment?
It's left up in the air, but at the end of the day, I don't believe Zenos found true fulfillment in his answer. Clearly, he does not think so either. For him, this life was a burden. I think this is clear going all the way back to the moment where he slit his own throat in Stormblood. But could he have possibly found fulfillment in another answer? In his final moments, he understands that this world is not for him, and that he should not continue living in it. But with the last of his strength, in this realm full of dynamis, he wills and prays that we be saved. Finally, a selfless act? It would be his first and his last. Perhaps in his final moment, he understood that the world does need people like the Warrior of Light. Perhaps he found fulfillment in knowing we would be all right.
As fragmented, imperfect beings, yours is a never-ending quest. A quest to find your purpose, knowing your end is assured. find the strength to continue when all strength has left you. To find joy, even as darkness descends. And amidst deepest despair, light everlasting.